So it seems to me, first of all, that you've already made up your mind that this is the best way. And you said in the course of your talk that it was hard to get across all the changes through the state government. And I realize that our state government is somewhat antagonistic to the needs of the city of Providence. So given all of that, there are a couple of things. First of all, we are going to lease our water supply to pay down the debt so that we can borrow more money, right? I mean, that's ultimately we're going to get the money here, we're going to pay this down, and we're going to be able, because we're going to get a better rate, to borrow more money so we can do things to keep taxes down.
No, not necessarily.
No?
No, so I mean, so if we want to go back to the slide, so just to be clear, the city borrows on a regular basis now for roads, bridges. It's very routine, but we do have caps on how much we borrow every year because we're actually the ratio of borrowing. The ratio to borrowing and a city's budget is an important factor of whether or not you're considered a healthy city in terms, you don't want to over borrow if you don't have a good operating budget. So again, that's, the city wouldn't necessarily be using the savings from a transaction to just borrow uncontrollably. The city actually has some very specific controls around borrowing that we're held accountable to. And so it would just allow us to continue to borrow at a continuous rate to make some of the investments we need to make in schools, in sidewalks, in roads. So we don't have the ability to borrow uncontrollably as a city, and that's a safeguard that's in place in a few different places.
Okay, so you were looking for suggestions, and here are a couple. First of all, reducing taxes is, so I don't know, when I go into debt and I have credit card debt, the thing that I want to do is to pay down the credit card before I save money for other things. So the rainy day fund is a nice idea, but maybe using that money to pay it down. Second of all, you itemize 3 places where we could generate revenue from taxes that are not from citizens directly, but it's hard to get the state legislature to change. Third of all, if the city of Providence was able to actually set rates in the same way that a private corporation could, which is ultimately what's going to happen, then we could raise the rates and generate the money without actually having to sell the asset. I would tie that to any rate increase would have to be passed on to the residents of Providence so that we don't gouge the rest of the state with our rate increases. However, we all know that cities like Johnston profit off the water from the water supply, whereas the city of Providence is not allowed to. And that's the basic problem. Now, here's another idea, which is, what if the city of Providence created a new sub-entity of the city of Providence, sold the Providence water supply to itself, and then raised the rates on everybody else because the enabling legislation allows you to do that?
So those are all, that third option that you've laid out is not dissimilar to the legislation the city put in the first year to the General Assembly. I want to note that Providence provides water to 60% of water users in the state, so obviously that's users outside of the city of Providence. None of those residents or mayors or political bodies have any representation as part of decision making about Providence water. Providence,
do the state capital, which is where this whole thing
no, right. So what I'm saying is that is potentially an option, and the legislation we put in the first year actually accomplished that. So would accomplish it if that passed. So that's one option we've definitely looked at, and we'd be willing to continue to look at. In terms of the rainy day fund, the rainy day fund is right now just really a couple of $1 million. It's not enough to move the needle on the pension liability. And
every single thing you said, oh, we can do this, we can do this, but it's never going to be enough. So here's the deal. Even with that slight change of thing, it's still not enough.
Right.
Push it off in the future.
No, I mean, it's not pushing off in the future. Every system has some liability. They are gonna, if we were at 100% funded, we would have no pension payment. There's no system that's 100% funded. Most systems have some regular payment. Most cities our size, their payments are like $20 to $30 million a year. Not
our annual thing?
Ours is around 90. and it's going to balloon to over $150,000 or 150 million per year. So our pension payment is outsized to the size city that we are in. So that's just a few things. So we've tried that. We would totally be open to doing that again, the third option. And then the rainy day fund, again, is at best practice 5% of the city's budget. We're not close to that, and the amount in the rainy day fund is fairly low at this point.